Fun Ideas Productions presents the Fun Ideas Podcast.
This is the Slow Poisoner. I come to you from the future with these words of warning.
It's a hot horror planet. 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 Living in science fiction. Past the point of no returning. We got high on gasoline. And we blew the scene.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold, and welcome to Fun Ideas Podcast number 99. This episode is sponsored by the fine folks at Lee's Comics.
Hi, I'm George Takei. You know me as Helmsman Sulu on Star Trek. When I'm not busy going Warp Factor 8, I like to beam down to Lee's Comics and spend a lazy afternoon reading comics classics from Marvel to DC, from Dark Horse to Fantagraphics, and everything in between. So please, spend some time here at Lee's Comics and spend your hard-earned cash.
Lee's Comics eBay store is still going strong with over 10,000 vintage comics, the majority of which are now on sale for half off. Choose from Lee's huge stock of golden, silver, bronze, and modern age comics, and specializing in Silver Age Marvel titles. You can count on friendly service, accurate grading, and quick, secure shipping backed by a money-back guarantee. To check out Lee's eBay store, go to eBay. Click Advanced Search to the left of the search bar. Scroll down to Sellers and enter Lee's Comics Inc. Period. That's LeesComics period. Don't forget the period. Lee's Comics is shipping daily with no delays. New items daily. Mention the Fun Ideas Podcast and get a free bonus gift.
Long title, Looking for the Good Times, Examining the Monkey Song One by One, by Michael A. Ventrella and Mark Arnold. A book that examines each song, gives lots of details about each song, and our own personal opinions. You can find this book on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and anywhere where good books are being sold. Our webpage is wordpress.monkeys.com, where you can see many of the songs and give your own opinions of them. And we will be discussing this more on Zilch.
Hey Michael, it says here we've written another book about the monkeys. Wasn't the first one enough?
Not at all, Mark. Our original book, Looking for the Good Times, Examining the Monkey Songs One by One, was very successful, but only covered half the story.
Which half?
The group half. Our new book, Headquartered, A Timeline of the Monkeys' Solo Years, covers the solo half.
Who knew the monkeys record so many solo albums?
Not only that, but this book covers all of their solo projects, including stage shows, horse racing, running record labels, directing and starring in TV shows and movies, voice acting, and jail.
Jail? Did the monkeys go to jail?
Ah, you have to read the book to find out.
You've sold me. Have you sold them?
Who's them?
Those people out there listening to this.
Well, listen to this. This book has discographies, photos, and other information about the Prefab Four, Mickey, Davey, Peter, and Mike, the Solo Monkeys, plus another nifty cover by Scott Schaub.
Wow, he did our last cover. And this one's equally good. Where can you get this masterpiece?
Announcer.
Announcer? That's me. Get Headquartered, a timeline of the Monkey solo years, written by Michael A. Ventrella and Mark Arnold. Those two guys. It's available in hardback, paperback, or ebook from BearManorMedia.com or from Amazon. Get your copies today.
Cool. I'm going to get one today. No news about my various book projects. Just please take the time to purchase my books on Harvey Comics, The Beatles, The Chipmunks, The Monkees, Disney, Pink Panther, Underdog, Jack Davis, John Severin, Cracked Magazine, and Dennis the Menace. They make great gifts. All are available on Amazon. Most are available through Bear Manor Media, and most are in hardback, paperback, and ebook. Today's guest is an animation expert who also creates her own crafty items. Here she is, Alexis Hejna. Okay, on the phone today we have Alexis Hejna. How are you today?
Hey, doing great. Glad to be here.
Very good. And usually how we start out on these conversations is I just ask, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in animation.
Oh, I've been an amateur animation historian for some time. Grew up watching cartoons, and that love has never died out. I've got a huge collection of animation, a handful of DVDs that you actually do commentary on.
Cool.
So actually talking to you is just a little on the surreal side. But Animaniacs has always been one of my favorites. I remember being a kid, coming up from school, throwing my backpack in the middle of the hall, turning on the TV, just sitting down and watching Animaniacs and Tiny Toons and loving it. I remember my parents coming in and watching Animaniacs with me. They loved the Good Feathers because they thought that was just so surreal that there was a cartoon making fun of that kind of stuff. They were just like, oh my God, no kid is going to get what the God Pigeon jokes are. I don't have kids, but I got to introduce Animaniacs to my friends' kids. I had DVDs and I'd loan it to them. And then I remember calling a friend of mine saying, so how do the kids like it? And they'd be like, they haven't stopped singing the monkey song. What have you done to us? And I'm just snickering, going, hee, 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 hee. Yeah, you got to put up with it.
Wow. Yeah, for me, I was already an adult when the show came on, and I hate to say, I've always kept up with animation as best I could, but I hate to say I didn't like Tiny Toon Adventures. I just said, oh, this is too derivative of the Looney Tunes, and it's just not that good. I mean, there are good episodes. I've seen a lot of it since, but at the time I just said, eh. And so when Animaniacs came along, I was just like, I don't care. It's like it's just more of the same. And I was actually young adult. I was early 20s, and I got a job at a TV station, KBHK, Channel 44 in San Francisco. And a coworker of mine, he says, oh, you got to watch this Animaniacs stuff. It's the funniest thing ever. I go, yeah. And one of our assignments working at the station was I had to watch the other channels and just kind of see what they're airing in commercials and things like that. Well, I started watching it, but I started laughing out loud, and my boss is like, what are you doing? Because I'm getting a little too entertained by the cartoons, and I fell in love with it from there. So...
Now, anyone who hasn't watched Animaniacs, well, I don't know what the heck is wrong with you. That thing has been a staple of the 90s. It's a staple of animation. It is just some of the funniest stuff that I think we have ever seen put out for kids. Not to mention, it's a voice actor's gold mine. And, going into the reboot, I really am happy to see that they kept majority of the main cast. We had Rob Paulson, Tress MacNeille, Jess Harnell, and Maurice LaMarche come back, and it's great to hear them do these classic voices again. Even if they do sound a little older, I think in some of the songs you can hear, it's like, okay, Rob Paulson obviously can't hit those high notes like he used to, but it still sounds great.
Yeah. Well, at least he's here. I mean, I don't know if you ever have heard him on other podcasts in the last couple of years. He had a little bout with cancer there, so...
Right.
It got a little dicey,
yeah.
So, it's like I'm glad he was able to make it for this reboot. And
Absolutely. He's been one of my favorite voice actors. I have made it my life's goal to be able to sing The Nations of the World from verbatim, and I get about halfway, and then I start tripping. And I still love a couple of years ago, he did it live, and he was able to remember, and I'm just like, oh my God, how do you do that?
I don't know. It's amazing. It's like, and they did a bunch of those on that show. I mean, it wasn't just that. Didn't they do the States of the Union as well on another one? And
states and all the capitals.
Yeah.
I know a lot of kids who actually credit the songs from Animaniacs for how they got through various history classes.
Right. And, of course, we have to pay tribute. You may not know this, but that's kind of borrowing from comedian Tom Lehrer, because he did this thing called The Elements, where he did the periodic table, and sung to the tune of, what's that song called, The Major General or whatever from the Pirates of Penzance.
Yes.
Yeah, so-
That's one of those patter songs that you either know it or you don't.
Yeah, so it goes. There's gold and silver and selenium and something like that. I don't know that one either, but anyway. But I'm sure they had that in mind when they were doing the countries of the world and things like that. Which I thought was great. I wasn't like, darn those guys, they just ripped him off. I'm sure Tom Lehrer was there in spirit. So.
I remember that song taking off so much that in later years they had to redo it because a lot of people pointed out, it's like, A, you forgot a handful of countries, and B, some of those countries aren't countries anymore.
I remember that more, that some countries aren't countries anymore, and it's like, oops, dated, but then lots of references are dated. I don't know if you're friends with, and I just interviewed him on the previous episode, Matthew LeBlanc. You might be on Facebook. And
I'm not sure if I'm friends with him or not.
Okay.
I know that there was a discussion on the animation, the cartoon research board that we both frequent.
Yeah.
About whether or not this Animaniacs would be as topical and reference as much current pop culture. And somebody on there said, please no, because I want the last few years to just die and go away. To which I said, I just watched an episode of Pinky and the Brain where Pinky runs for president against Bob Dole and Bill Clinton. Okay, we're not getting away from this.
But my point is of mentioning Matt is, so he had seen the episodes before I had seen any of the new episodes. And so I was asking him about it because we were actually talking about Disney stuff, and so I said, well, I have to watch some Animaniacs before I interview my next guest, which is you. And first of all, A, is it any good? He goes, yes. And B, does Bill Clinton still play the sax? And he goes, well, yeah, but not in the opening credits anymore. And I go, okay. But, now that I've seen a couple, yeah, they've changed it quite a bit. I mean, I'm kind of shocked that they canned all the other characters except for the Animaniacs characters themselves, Wacko, Yakko, and Dot, and Pinky and the Brain. I was like, wow, they really know what was popular on the original show, but it's like, it's kind of sad there's none of the other characters, or even some new ones. I don't know.
That is a little weird, and I think we do have to briefly touch on the controversy that the original showrunners, Tom Ruegger and all of them, found out about this through an announcement online. They were not contacted by the studio. They were not said, there was no offer to them saying, hey, do you want to come back and renew this? They weren't even given the option. I know a lot of them were really unhappy with this, and I don't know the exact reason why. Some are saying it's a money issue. Some are saying it's because the studio wanted to make sure that they separated more from past Animaniacs. They didn't want to worry about retrending. I think it's probably a little column A, column B, but it is a little rough because I was always a huge fan of what Tom Ruegger and his crew brought. I love their creativity, especially with Animaniacs and Freakazoid. Got Freakazoid on DVD too. Love it.
Yes.
And while the writing and the jokes on this new series are great, I really do kind of wish we could have had the old writers back because it would have been fun to hear what they could bring back in this modern age with Trump and everything, to see their take on it. So,
right.
Maybe it's a money thing, maybe, I don't know, but I'm not going to lie, it is a little cruddy that they weren't even given the option, or they weren't, called or talked to in person, that they had to find out online.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a mixed blessing. I'm glad that the new writers can write the thing, because I thought, the first I heard is that none of the original writers are returning, but the voices are. And I go, oh, crap, this is going to be a terrible show, because they'll write some stupid standard comedy pap that nobody cares about. It's not funny or topical or anything or whatever that made the other charming. And, but they were able to do it, which is good. Except, since I'm a writer myself, I'm kind of like, that's kind of a, bum rap or whatever the word is, it's like, if it's money, well, then I guess they talked them out of a job. But, if it's something else, like, oh, we don't want older writers, that's kind of unfair, because maybe they would have done it for a pay cut or whatever.
Yeah, and I agree with you. There's a handful of other characters that I would have liked to see brought back. Especially, I think the character I was most upset was Slappy Squirrel.
Me too. Yes.
Loved her to death, and I would love to see. Part of the fun of Slappy's character is she's a curmudgeon. She's cranky. She's old, and you look at how much technology has blossomed in the last 20 years, and you think, oh my God, to hear Slappy's take on smartphones and internet and smart house. Can you imagine an episode where Skippy converts Slappy's tree into a smart house kind of a thing, and Slappy's trying to figure out the voice commands?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, I don't know if there's plans in the future for any of these characters to come back. I mean, there's some I'm glad they didn't bring back. I'm not a big fan of the hippos, and I don't know, Chicken Boo is kind of neither here nor there, but I tended to like the other ones, and maybe Bernadette Peters was out of the price range. I don't know, but
I do remember them saying that's why Rita and Runt were so scarce in the later seasons of Animaniacs, was because keeping Bernadette Peters commands a pretty penny, and B, they had to keep flying her back from New York to L.A. Because she was always off, because she's on Broadway, and they're just like, yeah, we really can't afford that.
Of course, now because everybody's kind of quarantined. I mean, she could do it over Skype or Zoom or whatever. So.
Yeah. Now, I hate to admit it, the one that I hated, at least, and I know I'm in the minority on this, was Mindy and Buttons. And it's because I'm a crazy animal lover, and I hated how every single episode ended with Buttons getting scolded and being told, bad dog, bad dog. I'm like, no, don't call Buttons a bad dog. Buttons is a good dog. And that's just, oh my God, that just made me so depressed every time. The slapstick in it was great, but I didn't like seeing that ending every time.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. It's almost like a one-time gag. It's like, do you have to do it the same way every time? I even got that way when I used to watch old Tom and Jerry. I say, does Jerry always have to win? I mean, can't Tom just eat him up once? Just to make it different, have a different, where the dog wins instead of the kid, It's like,
yeah, that's why I love the Tom and Jerry's, where it's very back and forth. Jerry gets a hit, Tom gets a hit, Jerry gets a hit, Tom gets a hit.
Right.
It's like, yeah, Jerry's probably going to win, but still, it's more fun when it's balanced out like that.
Right. And you could say that about any cartoon, And also, it just kind of is more unexpected, for lack of a better term. If suddenly, you go, oh yeah, she's going to get scolded again, blah, blah, blah. Oh, she didn't this time. Wow. But hey, what other cartoons are you currently favoring? We can come back to the Animaniacs, but I was just kind of curious what your current tastes are.
Well, since we're on the topic of the reboots and such, I have also been getting into the modern Disney stuff. I've been crazy about the Ducktales reboot, but I think that's partially because I adore David Tennant as Scrooge.
So you're a Doctor Who fan too? Okay. That's okay.
I always get made fun of, because here's the thing. I am not a huge Doctor Who fan.
Oh, okay.
I'm an adamant fan, not a huge one. I lived in London for a bit. I was studying over at Imperial College. And while I was over there, David Tennant was in a BBC miniseries on Casanova. And I saw that when I was over, and this was ages ago, before he was cast as the Doctor. And so, yeah, I just was totally crazy about that miniseries. And then when I came back over to the States, he got cast as the Doctor, and everyone's talking about how great he is and how funny he is, and I got to have my little hipster moment. Like, I liked him before he was Doctor.
Did that series that you're referring to, there's so many shows that get imported and exported nowadays. Did that one ever make it to the U.S. or no?
Pretty sure it did. I never watched it again, but I've had enough people say that they've seen it, that it has to have been imported at least at some point. I mean,
I have to say, it's hard for me to keep up with everything nowadays. There's way too many things. And so, that's why I'm asking you, what's good on the cartoons? I have seen a couple episodes of the new DuckTales, so I'm aware of it. So
we also have the new Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, which is interesting because Mickey Mouse has been doing about 5 years of new animated shorts online, kind of combining the old style of the comic books with modern day animation, and it's pretty good. And they were just doing these shorts at random, and now they're doing a show, but it's the shorts. So the shorts are now just a little bit longer, and they're in this show format. So, been watching that as well. Only a few episodes have come out at the time of recording this. I am going to be talking about that show actually on another podcast, the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We're going to be discussing that, I think, either next month or early January, depending on our schedule, which has been, just retooled so many times. Let me put it this way. The schedule has been reshuffled every single time we hear a movie studio said, oh, okay, we're delaying a release again.
Now explain that. Maybe I didn't understand you. Is the shorts that are now the same shorts compiled into half-hour blocks, or is like just the shorts that they're making now are longer?
It's new shorts that they're making a little longer.
Oh, I get it. Okay, got it.
But it's the same style and same concept. It's Mickey, Minnie, Daisy, Donald, Goofy, Pluto, and Pete in different situations.
Right.
So.
And...
No, but it is very enjoyable. It's great animation. It's also the first time we're hearing Minnie's new voice actor. Sadly, Russi Taylor died, I believe it was last year. I think she passed away. So this is our first time hearing Minnie's new voice actress, and she seems to be doing a pretty good job. So
it's kind of funny, just as an aside, I'm writing a book about stars of Walt Disney Productions, and this is only through the end of Walt Disney Productions, so we're talking mid-'80s. But I originally was not going to put the cartoons because I said, oh, that's just way too many people. And then I realized I have way too many people anyway. And a lot of the live-action people actually did cartoon voices as well. So I said, I'll put everything. And then I learned something from it. It's like, I never really thought about who had done Minnie over the years, if it was one person or four people, or, it was Walt Disney for 10 years or whatever. Now, Walt Disney was originally the one, but then there was like 4 or 5 actresses that had done it over the years, and I didn't know that, so they never really had a steady person, per se, that lasted. I think the longest one, and forgive me, her last name was Boardman. I think it was Teresa Boardman or something, and she did it predominantly during the 30s. And then in the 40s, they had somebody else. But the one that you just said, Tress MacNeille, is that her name? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Russi Taylor.
Russi Taylor. I knew I said the wrong name. Sorry, a brain fart. And you just said the name, too. Russi Taylor, I think, did it longer than anybody, and which was like 30 years, or something to that effect, so...
Not to mention the fact that she was married to the previous Mickey voice, Wayne. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his last name.
Yeah, Wayne Allwyn.
Yes.
He's in my book too, because he started voicing Mickey back in the new Mickey Mouse Club in 1977. So that was his first Mickey job, and that was before they were married. Before she took on Minnie. I think she did Minnie first, if I remember, Mickey's Christmas Carol in '83. So.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so.
Oh my God, that came out. Geez, now I feel really old.
Welcome to the club, It's like, anyway, it makes me feel old when even going back to the Animaniacs for a second, it's like, they're all making all these 90s references. Well, wasn't it the 90s like last week? No, it's getting to be 20 to 30 years now. Anyway, and even on the show they said, we've been in deep freeze for 22 years or something like that. It's like,
it's like we've run out of jokes about the 90s.
Let's see, what other cartoons? Are you watching the new Looney Tunes that are on HBO Max?
Yes, actually. The Radulich and Broadcasting Network, we also discussed that one, which I admit I was split on the fence on because the jokes were good and the characters were good, but some of the jokes I felt like they pushed it a little too far. You ever watch something and it's like you should have just cut the joke a line early and then it would have been a lot funnier?
Yeah.
They do that a lot with the new Looney Tunes show.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit, because this is such a cop-out line, but the animation looked like it borrowed way too heavily from the Spunko style of Ren and Stimpy.
Which I don't know if it was supposed to. I thought it was supposed to be more like Clampett, but then, of course, John and Chris Falusi always said, I love Bob Clampett stuff, you know, and so...
because I remember reading an article saying they were going to borrow from, take more from Clampett's inspiration. But I'm watching this and I'm like, did you guys seriously just confused on how much John Kay took from Clampett's style? I mean, all the humans have the jelly bean eyes, and all the humans have the veins in their neck, and the fat noses. That's very much so his style.
Yeah.
And it's distracting. And I remember thinking, I don't want to say this is a Spunko ripoff style because, again, that's a cop-out line. So many people see animation, and if it's too very rubber hose, a little too squash and stretch or something, they say, oh, that's too Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't want to say that, but that's really what they went for. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that seems to happen a lot in cartoons. You know, they'll get like on a tangent. If it's not Ren and Stimpy, it'll be like the more recent one. I don't know if these guys are the first, but I call it the Steven Universe look, which is kind of like this weird kind of pseudo-anime look, but not really, you know, and they've adapted that in a lot of different cartoons, and I'm like, we can stop that one now.
Yeah, everything's so round. Everyone looks like they're circles. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
You especially see that in Shudder, the Thundercats Roar reboot.
Yeah,
oh my God, that looks so bad.
Has that been on yet? Because, you know, some things I miss. So is that one on yet, or no?
I found the first 2 episodes online.
Okay.
I don't know if it's actually aired, but I watched it and was going, oh my God, my precious Lion-O, what have they done to you?
Well, I wasn't, a huge fan of the original Thundercats, but then at the same time, to totally revamp and reboot it where it looks totally unrecognizable. I mean, going back to Animaniacs again, we'll do this a lot. You know, that was one thing that surprised me. It's like, it almost, not quite, probably about 95% looks like the old show. You know, like if you just put a random clip on, if it wasn't topical or anything, I'd probably say, oh, that's from the old show. And, and I was getting, in the conversation I had with Matt last week, he was explaining how they did the animation. It's not Flash animation, but it's some other, I already have forgotten what he said, but it's a better technique to do consistent animation, although it kind of freeze frames the person's expression on their face. So if they have a smile, they just have this permanent grin on their face or something. That is the way he was explaining it. I was like, oh well. But apparently there's more flexibility, so that's why the Animaniacs came out pretty fluid instead of that kind of, I don't know, the comparison I said was like the doctor's, the Cat in the Hat Knows That, or whatever that show is, where the Cat in the Hat kind of bounces on every frame, and it's kind of annoying because of that.
Oh, sure.
And most Flash animations kind of that way, where the heads kind of bounce unless you kind of keep it under control. So, anyway, going off on a tangent. But any other shows you like?
Let's see here. Trying to think of what other shows I've been watching lately. I hate to admit, because of how much I have to review for the Rattledge and Broadcasting Network, a lot of times it's like, so what are you watching? Whatever they want me to review next.
What stuff do they have you review that you can go there? Tell me what you don't like.
Okay, fine.
It's probably a longer list, I bet.
It's live action, but we just did a review for Hellstrom on Hulu. And the less said about that show, the better.
All right. Next. Any good live action shows then? I mean, we don't have to stick with animation.
Yeah, actually, we also just did a review of all five and a half seasons of Lucifer. Had a lot to talk about there. That was enjoyable.
I don't think I've heard about that. Of course, I don't keep up with everything. I mean, I just now watched the 5th season of Arrested Development. That shows you how far behind I get. So, and I still haven't watched any of Schitt's Creek except for the first couple episodes, and then now it's winning all the awards. So, there we go. So, what is Lucifer about, and should I watch it?
I enjoyed it. It's a live-action show. The idea is that what if the devil decided he wanted to take an extended vacation from his job in hell, and he just set up, basically opened up a nightclub in Los Angeles.
Okay. Is it supposed to be a comedy or supposed to be straight?
It's a bit of a comedy, bit of a drama.
Okay.
He ends up working with a police detective that he forms a bond with, and it's got some really good laughs. A lot of the fun is very much the fish out of water concept. It's hilarious because Lucifer makes no qualms about the fact that he's the devil, but everyone just assumes he's some eccentric person who's just like, it's just what he says. Who cares? It's like he never lies to anyone. He always says, yeah, I'm the devil. I came from hell. No one believes him.
Any celebrity of any note in it?
Well, Tom Ellis plays the devil, and he's always a lot of fun to watch. Okay. I heard he's actually up for the role of Mr. Sinister once Fox and the once Disney and the MCU figure out what they're going to do with Fox and the X-Men.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway. And what other things have you recommended, or don't recommend? I'm always curious about what people say about new shows, since I don't keep track of everything.
I've been watching a lot of the new stuff on Disney lately. I've been watching The Owl House. It's one of their new series. It's from a woman who actually used to work on Gravity Falls, which is an amazing show. Mm-hmm. And The Owl House is pretty enjoyable. It's got great animation, very enjoyable characters. It's a lot of fun on that. Terrific voice acting. Mm-hmm. So it's really good.
All right.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I'm a Comic-Con vendor by trade, so I've been quarantined and essentially living with nowhere to go since March. So streaming services have been my friend.
Same with me, except silly me. I have like stacks and stacks of DVDs that I haven't watched, and so I tend to play catch up on shows from the 50s. Like I'm watching Danny Thomas show right now, so I'm like, whoops, so much. It's going to take me 50 years to get caught up to what's going on now. I don't know, but I try to jump around and watch a little of everything. It's so much harder now than it used to be. I mean, everybody used to be on the same page, and now it's like, oh, you're recommending that show now? Okay, I'll get to it some point, someday.
Oh, trust. When I work the Comic-Cons, I have so many people. I create handmade jewelry, and I do a lot of stuff based off of various fandoms. Mm-hmm. And I have people come up and like, hey, do you have something from so-and-so, whatever? And I'm just staring at them like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. It's like, yeah, I always wonder about that for artists and stuff. Yeah, draw me a picture of so-and-so. Do you have a picture of so-and-so so we can see what so-and-so looks like?
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's only so many shows and so many movies and books and animes and everything that I can keep track of. I'm only one person. Right.
And I don't know if you know too much about my background, but, I'm a big Harvey Comics fan, written books about that, and it's like, so I still keep up with what they're doing on newer stuff. So they did this cartoon on Netflix called Harvey Street Kids, which was called Harvey Girls Forever in the 2nd through 4th season. And I doubt it. You might have watched it because you might have had to do a review on it, but I don't think anybody watched it, But it somehow lasted 4 seasons, so.
No, I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, see. Well, I can't necessarily recommend it. I mean, I actually liked it better the 2nd and 3rd season. I haven't watched the 4th one yet, to be honest, but 1st season is a little bit clunky, and like a lot of these reboots, whereas Animaniacs, using that again as an example, is like pretty darn close to what used to come out in the 90s. This one takes great liberties with the characters. like Little Dot comes out as African American, for example, and doesn't have any of her tendencies to being obsessed with dots. She just happens to wear a dot shirt, and her name happens to be Dot. Other than that, no similarity at all, And so they've made total changes like that, and they do that a lot on these reboots. And I was like, why? Why do you even bother? It's like it is like when they had the reboot of Hawaii Five-0. I used to like the original one a lot, and I saw the new one and I go, yeah, it's all right, but why didn't they just call it Detectives in Hawaii? Why did they have to call it Hawaii Five-0 and try to climb on the back of that old show that's great? I don't know.
But yeah, I guess getting back to the Animaniacs. So, what did you think of the new? You said you caught a couple of episodes so far.
I've seen 2 episodes, and I know there's 13 of them, but I didn't want to watch all 13 at once. I'm not a binge watcher like that. I can usually watch like 2 or 3, and then I just kind of go, "That's enough," because I kind of want to savor it. I don't want to just watch it just because it's on and just kind of. I mean, if it was no good, I probably would have gone through them all, but it actually is decent. My complaints, like I said, is like the abandonment of the other characters, but at least they kept the characters I liked, although I don't know, does the doctor or the nurse come back, or are they gone too?
Scratch and Sniff makes one appearance in the very last episode.
Okay.
Hello, nurse. I think they make a reference that she's joined Doctors Without Borders.
Okay, all right.
Which I believe is code for woke generation will not let us put this character back in this show. We have just simply written her out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I mean, they could have just changed her around, I guess, and they could still do hello, nurse. But anyway, my favorite scene, and I was watching this with my wife, and she used to love the Animaniacs too, so she wanted to watch it with me. So we watched the 2 episodes. Of the 2 episodes, which was so funny, I loved it, but it was so funny it was wrong, was when they had the Trump-like Cyclops and rubbing the Pinky in the Brain all around his body where the nipple was showing and everything like that. And we were laughing hysterically, but at the same time saying, this is so wrong. But then I realized, it does have a PG rating, so I guess they're kind of appealing more to older viewers, and screw the kids. If they don't know Animaniacs, screw them. I don't know. Or they're not going to win many converts that way. I don't know. That was just my thought of it. I didn't dislike it. I just was kind of surprised. I was like, whoa, that's a little bit extreme for this show. But, hey, But
I enjoyed the music in this. They've really done a good job. Randy Rogel, who was one of the songwriters for the original series, he's come back. Obviously, the great Stoney Nee passed away some time ago, and no one's ever going to be able to duplicate how amazing his songs were. Mm-hmm. But the songs in this are still really good. I enjoy there's 2 songs in the first episode. We have the one where they're talking about the things that have happened in the last few years, and you get to the point where they say, well, you see, it's like, we don't actually know what's going on right now because the writers are writing this in 2018.
Right, I saw that.
And they're like, so how are we going to be able to tell, it's like, but Animaniacs is required, people rely on us to know what's going on in the modern world. What are we going to do? We don't know what's happened in the last 2 years. Guess. Okay, that works.
Yeah, they start making it up, which is very funny,
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, and I didn't know if that's difficult to do or not, but I was very impressed that they still use full orchestrated cues, for the background music, because they could have gone on the cheap and just, used piped-in synthesized crap like they sometimes do on cartoons, but they actually went back and they have the marimbas and all the other instruments in the full orchestra, like a good Warner Brothers cartoon or a good Animaniacs should. So that was good.
Absolutely, that is. I mean, you're right. One of the things that was so great about the golden era Warner Brothers TV shows was the use of the full orchestra for all of their shows. The music was so enjoyable, and I love that they have gone back and put that much work into it. I really love the reboot song. That was the second song in the first episode. It's like, what is like, if studios want to make easy cash, just dig some stuff out of the trash.
So like I said, I don't know how hard it is, because back in the day when they're making the original Looney Tunes, I mean, that was just the studio orchestra that orchestrated for everything. So it was really no big deal to orchestrate for Termite Terrace. But now I don't know if they have to hire a separate orchestra and just bring them in specifically for cartoons, or if Warner Brothers is smart enough to just keep them on the payroll. I don't know what they do with them. So...
I always heard that Steven Spielberg was very involved when Animaniacs was going through its original run, and I'd like to know how much he's involved in this one. They used to say how he'd check in with the writers, and he'd sit in on the studio recordings, and he'd talk to the staff and everything. So I'm just honestly curious how much he's working with these guys now.
Well, I forgive my ignorance, but that wasn't him voicing his own caricature in the episode, was it? Or...
If it is, I can't find any credit that says it was. And Lord, they did bring Frank Welker back as Ralph the Guard, and Welker has always done a very good Spielberg impression.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. I didn't think it was the real Spielberg, but you never know. He could have actually done it. But I think even in this time of quarantine, COVID, and everything, Spielberg's probably kind of worried about getting West Side Story done or something. I don't know what he's doing right now.
I don't know what he's working on now. I really don't.
Well, that's what his last film was, but I don't know if he finished shooting it before everything shut down. So,
Oh, God, I didn't know he was doing a remake.
Yeah, he's doing a remake of West Side Story. So,
And studios want to make extra cash.
Yeah.
It's like, just take old ideas and rehash. Yep.
Yep.
They were absolutely right. I hate to say, one of the things I'm not too crazy about with the new Animaniacs, and it sounds weird, is the animation on the non-cartoon characters. Yakko, Wacko, Dot, Pinky, and Brain all look great, all have really good animation, but some of the human characters, their expressions are just kind of weird. We get Seth Meyer making an appearance in one of the earliest episodes, and I get that they're trying to do like that awkward smile he does, but it just looks creepy. And then you've got Odysseus in the one you're talking about with the Trump Cyclops, and they just draw him so bizarrely. It's just kind of weird, and I hate to. I just feel like it doesn't mesh well with the style of the Yakko, Wacko, and Dot.
Yeah, I guess they have different people doing the model sheets, and they're not trying to fit it in, I guess, for lack of a better term. I don't know. It's like, it is kind of awkward. It's like that, what was that? I can't even think of the name of it. That it was a cartoon show that was a while back that had all these different animated styles all together. Drawn Together, that's what it was called. It was like a reality show.
Yeah.
It wasn't the greatest show, but I liked the concept more than the execution. But,
sure.
that type of thing, is like, they had different styles in the same cartoon. That's what it sounds like on this Animaniacs. But it seems like they just don't spend the time. They figure, people don't care about the peripheral characters. They only care about the main ones. We'll just keep them drawn well. I don't know,
And honestly, I really disagree with that, not only with the fact that, these new characters, the animation's bizarre, but I don't like that we're getting introduced to these other peripheral characters, but we're not getting any development out of them. We have a new CEO of Warner Brothers. They got rid of Thaddeus Plotz, and we have this new female CEO.
Right.
But we don't really see her that often, and we know very little about. I can't even remember her name.
Yeah, and she has she has no personality other than she's a person of color. That's all basically her only distinguishing feature, which is not necessarily bad, but give us more. It's like give us a personality quirk or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why we liked having Scratch and Sniff and Hello Nurse and Ralph the Guard and Thaddeus Plaza. They were really fun characters who bounced off of Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. They weren't just the stray characters who were constantly their foibles. They interacted with them, and they all meshed well. Here, the Warners are carrying the entire series. I think we have, besides this new CEO and Ralph the Guard, we have one other reoccurring character who appears in 2 cartoons. He shows up in the one where the Warners are competing in the Olympic Games, and then shows up again at the end when they're at a store trying to buy a soda. He's a Swedish athlete, and I think the notes on him were, do your worst Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation.
Looking forward to it. No, I will eventually see all the episodes, but, I would say overall, I would give the series, what I've seen so far, a B+.
I would too. Again, I think that there's a lot that they can do in future series. I know this is going to get picked up for a second season without question. And I'm really hoping that they do try to, give us more of these, especially with the fact that we do not have our other characters like Slappy Squirrel, Goodfeathers, Brita, and Run, and all of them. We cannot have this show where it's just the Warners and Pinky and the Brain carrying everything.
Yeah.
I want to see these other characters, like the CEO. There's the potential there. She could be really funny.
Yeah.
And we could have some new, see some more of the antagonists that we've had. I'd like to see them build these characters up a little bit more and bring them back for some more episodes.
Yeah. Well, I don't even understand why we were mentioning Slappy Squirrel. They can't even be in there, just visually. I mean, they had that one thing about giving cartoons the votes, and you had all these Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters and Bugs Bunny too, but all the Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera characters all showing up, and none of them spoke, but they're there. So I mean, certainly you can have some of the regular Animaniacs show up visually if they can't speak. Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. There is because you haven't seen the whole thing, I can't say any spoilers.
Okay.
But there's an episode that maybe kind of sort of explains maybe what happened to the other characters.
Okay.
Let me just ask you this.
Okay.
You like I said, you're a pretty big fan of the classic Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Out of all the character shorts, who would you say was your least favorite? Which was the character short when it showed up? You're like, okay, gotta go get a drink.
Well, like I said, the Hip Hippos were probably the least favorite for me.
Okay. Yeah, I have to admit I'm not a fan of the Hip Hippos either, but I think that's partially because I have known way too many couples who were like that. It's like, I don't need to see this characteristic in hippos. I see this characteristic in my parents' friends.
No, you can go ahead and spoil it. I don't mind. Well, who was it?
There's an episode where a big game hunter goes after the Warners and reveals that he has taken down all the other characters and mounted their head on a wall. But in the end, it's Chicken Boo in a disguise.
Oh.
He went after them because they wouldn't let him on the show, and they say flat out that Chicken Boo was the least popular character on the show, and that's why he wanted revenge.
Yeah, see, Chicken Boo, a lot of people didn't like that character. I mean, I was explaining again on the last episode. Do you know what an APA is?
A what?
An APA. APA.
Can't say I do.
Okay, yeah.
I'm assuming you're not talking about the character from Avatar: The Last.
No. An APA is like what predated the internet in a certain respect, but in real life. Is everybody had their opinions about TV shows and animation and stuff like that, and what you do is write an article about whatever you want. So let's say this was back in the 90s and before the internet really took off, and we were writing about the Animaniacs. So I would write my piece. It'd be 2 or 3 pages, and I'd make 30 photocopies of it. And you'd write your piece, 2 or 3 pages or whatever, and make 30 photocopies. And then all of us would mail those 30 copies to one person who would bind them and collate them and staple them all together and remail them back out to everybody else. This is in the days before, emails and everything like that. This is the stuff we did. And it was called an APA, which stands for Amateur Press Association. I was a member of one called WTFB, which stood for Where the Fun Begins, well, for the Disney afternoon. But we'd talk about other cartoons and stuff like that. What was my point of bringing that up? Oh, because of Chicken Boo. So, we'd talk about, Animaniacs really back then. And, it's like a couple people didn't like Chicken Boo, but I realized, and a couple other people realized that, we kind of like that character. It's so quirky and weird that I actually like it. I wouldn't like it on every episode, but just because it just popped up periodically, had no voice, and just was kind of there, it was just kind of bizarrely funny in that way.
Exactly.
Whereas like Hip Hippos were never funny. They're just annoying. And it's like, get off my TV, or I'll just go and get a drink right now. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I never quite understood the hatred for Chicken Boo, mostly because the argument against Chicken Boo is always, it's the same joke every time.
Well, you could say that about every Animaniacs segment, really, but,
Exactly! Yeah, it's like, same thing with Pinky and the Brain. They try to take over the world, something goes wrong, they go back to the lab. Yeah, same thing with Chicken Boo. The joke isn't, the punchline. The joke is how the punchline is discovered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a totally different style of humor. But yeah, I never did quite get the hatred for it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to like the mime that used to appear on Freakazoid all the time, and some people hated that character, and it's like, what's wrong with that? I think people don't like silent characters. That's what it is. Anyway.
Oh, I always liked good idea, bad idea with the skeleton.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Again, that was just so random.
and when, I'll tell you the truth, when all these started coming out on DVD, Freakazoid was what I got first. So it's like, even long before Pinky and the Brain, long before Animaniacs, and it's like, so...
Yeah, and I love Freakazoid. Again, it's such crazy meta humor, but it's also humor that not everyone's going to get.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. Not everyone's going to appreciate when Freakazoid suddenly breaks the fourth wall and starts talking like, oh my God, what's his Jerry Lewis?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I was in heaven, and, it's like, and there's the one episode where they go to the San Diego Comic-Con, and I was going during those years, and, it just was, like, perfect. In fact, we watched it. Somebody had taped it off the air, and we watched it in the hotel room that night. That's where I first saw it, because we had missed, I think it did air. I think they timed it so that it would air close around, or maybe I hadn't seen it yet or something. I don't remember. But, they had got it on tape. They just taped it off the air. And, we were all watching in the hotel room laughing hysterically. It's like they got it just exactly how it is, But anyway.
Now, wait, was that the one where they see Mark Hamill, or was that the one where Cave Guy runs from the dude?
Cave Guy. Yeah, it's Cave Guy one.
Yeah, it's like you created a language based off of a TV show. That's not right!
Cave Guy!
And I died. That was great.
But, and that's what made me fall in love with Freakazoid. I had already seen it, but, that was where I was like, I gotta get every episode. So it's like, yeah. And I don't think that one ever made it to videotape, so it's like if you wanted it, you had to tape it off the air, and it's like...
Yeah.
And then when, like I said, when they put it on DVD, I said, mine, now. I don't care how much it costs.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway.
No, I think my favorite episode of Freakazoid was the one where he goes back to Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, but the Hula Girls joke, that just gets me. It's like, Pomchies, Hula Girls.
Hula Girls.
Hula Girls. Every time.
Now I'm going to have to pull those out again and watch them again. Okay. Hula Girls.
And I've been binging Looney Tunes on HBO Max while I've been working the last few days. I may have to switch up to Freakazoid.
I hope they don't make new ones of those, because I don't know, they would probably do it wrong. There's something about Freakazoid that was like its own thing. In a certain respect, I think they're trying to bring the Animaniacs mentality into like the Batman, the New Adventure, or whatever, that type of world, but it kind of didn't hit the proper nerve for the average person. For you and I, obviously, we love it, but it's like, otherwise it would have lasted longer, my thought, but anyway.
No, and unfortunately, I've heard that they're talking about rebooting Tiny Toons now, so fingers crossed that they don't decide to just reboot the entire Steven Spielberg encyclopedia there.
Yeah.
You know, knock on wood.
Yeah. I'll give it a chance, but like I said, Tiny Toons, I don't know, I think the later episodes probably got to where they should have been in the first place, but it just rubbed me the wrong way in the first season or so, and so I never embraced it as much as the later Warner Brothers shows, but maybe.
I was in middle school when it came, like late elementary school, early middle school came out, so I was the target demographic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. I say things to other people about, certain movies and stuff like that, and I go, unfortunately, I was 18 when this came out. Unfortunately, I was 25 when this came out. It's like, because, like, you probably love this movie, so here's a good example. It's like, I don't get the love for the Goonies example, Why?
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because I was 18 when it came out, and it's like, I didn't care. I mean, I saw it, and I said, okay. But I could see, if I was a little kid, I probably would have liked it, but I wasn't, so. Anyway, some things don't wear that way. I mean, granted, Animaniacs, I was a total adult when, I was like 22 or 23 when that first aired, but, it's like, hey, they did it right, so I loved it. And, again, when I watched it again, hey, they did it right, so I'm loving it so far, so I'll have to see the rest. But I don't want them to overdo it. I always get worried about that now. I didn't then. It's like, yeah, more, make 10 years of this. Now I'm like, 13's enough. Hey, let's stop before it goes bad. But
what's interesting about these with the Animaniacs reboot is, again, they didn't bring back any of the other old characters, but there are like 3 segments where they're trying to introduce new characters. But these things are so meta and abstract that, again, they scream Freakazoid. There's one. It's a loud, obnoxious troll or gnome that lives in people's mouths. And there's another one where this alien invasion has started, and the first alien has landed, and he's supposed to signal the other aliens to invade Earth, but this alien is very small, and he gets picked up by a little girl, and she is playing with him, and she won't let him get back to his spaceship.
Interesting.
Like I said, they're very surreal. I hate to say it, but the one with the alien, I am 90% convinced some writer on the staff just has a little girl, has a daughter, very young, and they just followed her around and recorded what she was playing and decided to write a show around it.
Sounds like what the South Park guys did, with, what's the kid's name? But the younger brother of one of them, Ike, yes, because I think didn't they just go around with a recorder and just record anything he said, and that's what they used for Ike's voice, I
think so.
That's what I heard, at least initially. I don't know about later on, but anyway. All right. So since you're quarantining all these years, what do you normally do? I mean, you said you go to San Diego. Do you do a lot of conventions under normal circumstances? And what type of art do you do? Just out of curiosity.
Well, like I said, I make jewelry. We actually repurpose old game pieces into new jewelry accessories. We have necklaces that are made out of old polyhedral dice. We have barrettes that are made of old Scrabble tiles. I've got bracelets made from Monopoly and Clue pieces. We actually just launched a brand new line of charm bracelets that are made from old Operation pieces.
Now, where do you get it? Do you just buy brand new games and tear them apart, or do you go like thrift stores and grab anything you can find?
eBay. Hours upon hours on eBay.
Now, do you sell any of your crafts or anything on eBay or Etsy or any of these sites like that?
We have 2 shops. One is on Etsy. One is on Handmade at Amazon. The name of the store is Honeysuckle Rose Creations, and the week we're recording this is the week of Thanksgiving. Everything in both the shops are currently 20% off.
Okay.
So
Of course, by the time this goes up, which will probably be about mid-December, since we're a little bit backlogged on episodes, will you have any specials around Christmas holiday?
Yeah, actually, we usually do run another sale right after Christmas, between Christmas Day and New Year's, for all the people who got Etsy gift cards or checks for Christmas and then want to go splurge on stuff they've saved in their search history. And, of course, again, I'm also on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We're going to have a ton of shows coming out in December. That's part of the W2M network, which is found on all podcast catchers, including but not limited to iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and where else you can listen to podcasts, including YouTube.
I need to get on Stitcher and Spotify a little bit better, but I'm getting around. I am on iTunes and I am on YouTube, but anyway, enough about me. Anyway, any other projects or anything you're working on currently?
Well, again, this show's coming out in mid-December, so be sure to check back in with the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We're going to talk about the Animaniacs reboot on that one as well. Hold on a sec. Sorry, I had something in my throat there. We're going to be talking about The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. We're also going to be talking about, and I swear to God this is real, is Mickey's Inferno. This is a comic book that was released in the 40s in Italy. I've got a copy released that was translated in English. I'm not joking. This is Dante's Inferno, starring Mickey and Goofy as Dante and Virgil.
Actually, I think I've heard of this before, but anyway.
So we're going to be talking about that come December. So, be sure to check back on our other network after that. And, of course, head on over for Honeysuckle Rose Creations. You can always find us also on Facebook, Instagram, and Under Duress Twitter.
Okay. And you keep saying we. Is we just the... is it you and yourself? Or you do have a group of people that you're working with? And if you want to name names...
Well, as far as, when you say we, are you referring to my company, or we as in the other
Well,
podcasts?
you said we on everything. It's like we do this, we do that. So, do you have other people you're working with? Or?
Well, actually, my husband is my partner on
cool.
Honeysuckle Rose Creations. He runs my website for me. This is why you marry people who know computers, because I sure as hell don't. And we also have a running gag that our dog, who I think you heard barking in the background earlier when we were talking earlier, I call him our company's intern.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Okay. So, lots of we. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just kind of curious. And on the podcast, are you the sole person, or do you have other people on your show?
Oh, I am so not the sole. I don't even run the whole thing. The whole thing is run by Mark Radulich. We got a whole team of other guests who frequent on the show. We're really hoping to get things to take off so then we can get advertisers and then they can start paying me. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice for me, too. Anyway, I do have some advertisers, but, it'll get there. Anyway. Any final thoughts? I mean, you did your promotion or anything else you want to say today before I let you go?
I think that's it. Again, guys, go check out the Animaniacs Reboot. Even though not all the jokes land, and even though some of the animation is a little on the wonky side, it is still fun. There's still a lot of that same charm and imagination and humor that was in the original series, and I say it's definitely worth seeing. So go check it out. It's currently on Hulu.
And I agree. So 3 thumbs up. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you very much, Alexis, for being a guest on Fun Ideas Podcast, and we will talk to you soon.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening, and thank you, Alexis Hejna, for being my special guest. Episode number 100 will be coming soon. If you would like to comment and or be a guest on this podcast, please drop me a line at funideas.mark@gmail.com. Become a patron of Mark Arnold and Fun Ideas Productions. If everyone listening just contributed $1 a month, that would be a tremendous help in continuing the production of my books and this podcast. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. The opening and closing music for the Fun Ideas podcast is provided courtesy of Andrew the Slow Poisoner Goldfarb and is used with permission. This has been the Fun Ideas podcast. This is Mark Arnold speaking. This episode is copyright 2020, Fun Ideas Productions. Thank you, and good night.
Headed home to a cardboard hut with duct tape doors. price I'm paying. Be glad it isn't yours. Now get up, Crab Mountain, get up. 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 That mountain of crab. And don't fall